Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Today is the very first day that we are going to be looking at the C4 Corvette, the 1987. I have a couple things on the to-do list. The first one is taking off the exhaust. Second is taking everything off needed to remove the water pump. Third, I need to take off the air intake. Fourth, I need to run out to the store and grab everything I need to start putting stuff back together. And I think that's it for today. Let's see how far we can get. The first thing you want to do whenever you work on a car is disconnect the battery. Guys, so here's how the engine is looking so far. I just got back from the store for the second time with some new gaskets for the air intake. Here's the new water pump installed. I can't really test it out and make sure it's not leaking until I get the headers back on, the top end buttoned up because it needs to be running. That's going to happen a little bit. Right now though, I am working on cleaning off all this old gasket and stuff like that. The part that I always dread is the distributor. Here's another surface I'm gonna have to clean off. It's where the radiator connects up to the block. So a while ago I got these new injectors from Amazon. They seem to be doing pretty well. The reason why I got them is the injectors I had before, 3 of them were from a Camaro and the rest were from the Corvette, and they didn't really match. They gave out the same pressure and everything, like I tested them out and cleaned them, but it kind of bothered me that they didn't match, so I got a whole new set. These are basically brand new. They don't really have that much use on them, so all the seals and everything are great. If these were old, I would probably be getting a new ring set to put on them, but since they're new, I'm not doing that. Another thing I got is, even though I organized all of my spark plugs, I'm still going to be putting in a new set. Doing this was pretty much just to kind of see if there was an issue with one. I know what cylinder it came out of. Hopefully by the end of today, I have all of that buttoned up. Okay, so I'm currently going to the parts store again. This is like the 3rd or 4th time. My Corvette is a 1987. All of my belt-driven accessories, like my water pump and alternator and all that, I'm pretty sure all that came off of an 85. I just got back from the store. Well, I was hoping to get my EGR valve for the tune port injection. The one that I got like years ago, it doesn't fit. I ordered a new one that the guy confirmed it's gonna fit. I actually brought the old one in so I had it and I could double check. But that's gonna come in on Tuesday, which means that today I can still install the air intake manifold, but right now I'm just focusing on getting the exhaust headers back in. The trick to doing these is kind of in the gasket itself, so both ends have an open loop. So basically when you install it, you install the 2 end bolts, and then you just slip this in place and it sits where it needs to, and then you just lightly put in all the other screws and then tighten it all up. Okay, so I'm at the point where I'm trying to get this passenger side header into the car, and here's the game I'm playing. So that's the spot I have to try and fit it in. Here's my hand. With a lot of patience and even more patience, this should be able to fit in. I already got the other side in. This one I could just feed in from the top and it just like went in. That one though, I'm gonna have to feed in from the bottom and hope for the best, I guess. Getting there. Okay, so I'm at this point. I had to pull the dipstick out because it wasn't happy. Gotta love working on Corvettes. Everything is very meticulous. Like, one big difference with the Corvette and a Jeep is like, this is a Jeep, right? You're tightening it up and that's what you hear. With a Corvette, when you tighten it up, this is what you hear. if you're lucky. That's what you hear. Big like twice as long. It's the nature of the beast. But it's the dance. It's the Corvette mechanic dance. 5 steps back, 1 step forward. Okay, so as I get ready to put this header in, here's a couple things I've done prematurely just to have everything ready to go. I have all my bolts. Here I have my gasket for it. When I go to install it, I'm going to be working at the hardest bolt, which is at the very back. This go a little bit easier. What I decided to do is I just put one right in the middle right here. Very loose, like just by hand. That way I don't have to hold up the header when I'm trying to line up that back hole, just because like it's such a tight fit with having 2 hands back there. So that's going to hold up the header. Now we can just adjust it and put that back one in. Then I'll take that out, put the gasket in, put this front one in over here, put all of them in, and then tighten. Alright guys, so that is the dipstick reinstalled, and it just comes right out over here. Okay, so I just put the air intake manifold back on. I torqued them all, proper bolt pattern. Right now what I'm going to be doing is reinstalling the serpentine belt. This isn't the first time I've taken the serpentine belt off, so I'm really familiar with how it goes on. If you're doing this for the first time, what I recommend doing is draw out all the circles, and I just have an arrow pointing where the belt goes, and then I'd save that for when I have to reinstall it. Also, I am not a mechanic. I do this as a hobby, so take that into consideration. Something I want to emphasize is if you're doing a job like this where you're taking off the air intake and you also have to take out the distributor, it is very important that you know how to put the distributor back in. If you're off by like a single tooth, it's not going to run properly. So I will try and show you and explain to the best of my knowledge as a hobbyist, but definitely watch a bunch of videos on how it's done properly before you attempt it, because I would consider dropping the distributor in probably one of the hardest parts about the whole job. Like, it's by far one of the most difficult parts to do because of how much finesse is involved in it. So I'll kind of explain right now with the beginning of what I've done. So I've put a socket under the harmonic balancer, and I crank the engine over by hand until when I look at the harmonic balancer, there's the line on it. But right where that groove is slotted into where the harmonic balancer is, that lines up with one of those teeth that I've already marked from before, which is 100% top dead center. You can kind of see it on the screen, like that little white tab. So that's how I know my number 1 cylinder, which is this one, that piston is all the way up. So when I drop in that distributor, I'm making sure that this is pointing at that top dead center cylinder 1. Okay, so now we are a little bit farther along. I just got the distributor in, I have my fuel rails in, I have my injectors in, as well as connected to the wiring. All the spark plug wires set up, ready to go. Both valve covers are good. I never even took this one off. Serpentine belt is back on. The water pump is installed. I have the fuel rails installed. The headers are installed. I topped off my brake fluids. AC is back on. A lot of the little electrical things that need to be plugged in, I did that. So I'm getting pretty close to having the engine buttoned up again. Then I can focus a little bit more on that exhaust. The reason why I can't get it done at the moment is I have to wait till Tuesday for that EGR valve to come in. So I built the engine as far as I can to that point. Once that valve comes in, I should be able to plug it in, plug in the last couple steps, and then the engine's ready to go. And as I'm waiting, I'm going to be working on the exhaust. So once the exhaust is back in and I have the EGR valve set up and the engine done, then I can kind of turn my attention over here and look at this bearing. Why is it making that weird sound or whatever? Get to the bottom of that mystery. Then I should be able to drive it around, no problem, you know, because that's totally how things work, and focus on the aesthetics of it.